Candelabrum, black metal from Portugal, is in today's review. Very simple release in design. This one is called Portals, the second album by this band that put out its first demos in 2015, first album in 2016, and now it's time for the second one, 2018. Um, as you can see, there's not much information lying around on this inlay or CD booklet. There's not much info around on the internet as well, because this band kind of seems to have decided to stand against modern stuff, be it black metal or internet things. No official websites, social media pages, and whatever. And I think maybe it's good for just each and every one of us. Now I'm gonna soon tell you why. This is an album of about 33 minutes, 4 songs, including one 93-second intro and a couple of longer tracks and one 5-minute ones. And if you are familiar with my channel, you probably know that I usually don't like longer tracks because most of the artists are not really capable of doing good songs which last very many minutes. And unfortunately, this one, Candelabrum, is one of those cases exactly. Now there are many faults with this album, and to be honest, I'm not sure where to start from. But let's start describing the music. It's raw black metal, kinda retro-ish in a way that it's more 90s stuff than modern day, and this is exactly what this band is basically all about. There is mentioned in the booklet that this band is against modern black metal. Well, sure, why not? If you have merits, why not stand against whatever you want to? But this one is not a good one. The music is basically built on simple ideas, simple riffs, simple keyboard elements, and that's it. There's no mention about the lineup. I can only assume there's one guy operating with drum machine and then doing some bedroom kind of a black metal, because everything points to the direction that this is an album that is basically composed and finished just by one guy doing in a cellar, basement, I don't know, bedroom, and everything sounds just awful, horrible. Let's start with the keyboards. They are loud, they are simple, they are very much like some, I don't know, 5-year kid going bling blong kind of a stuff. If you like that, it's great. If you don't, it's horrible. And they are also in the mix, they are very much on the foreground. They're basically blurring everything else on the background, which is, yet again, horrible idea. Now when it comes to the guitars, there's not much to be said about the riffs because they're really mushy. They're the kind of stuff that you just have a kind of a buzzing sound on the background, which the keyboards are, once again, topping over, and it's not very enjoyable to listen to. Now the so-called drums, if you can call them that, to me it sounds like they're done by a kind of a crappy drum machine. The sound is horrible. It's, once again, pretty much like the guitars, really mushy. It's not like, hey, there's now some nice percussion ideas, nice use of cymbals, cool whatever beats and whatnot. It's just something noisy on the background. But unlike real noisecore music and whatnot, this is not in a good way. This is not some chaotic power electronics or noisecore or whatever. This is just some poor attempt to do raw black metal. Now I think with these kind of bands, word raw refers more to lack of proper composing, understanding of mixing, mastering, and all the basic ideas what you need to do when you're finished with your compositions. Now everything else is basically, topped with these keyboards. I mean, they are just basically running the show, and they are not doing it very well. I mean, the guitars and drums are somewhere in the background, and to be honest, I don't really care because the elements that are running the show are horrible. Also the vocals, which are pretty much the only one I cannot really bitch about too much. Um, they're kind of like, hey, why don't you come over here and do some random vocals kind of a thing. It's just like they're not bad, but not really good either. To me, this is like an over-length demo recording where everything is done poorly. And as a result, this overall album is kind of very annoying. It's horrible to listen to. It's really hard to enjoy any parts except that when the album actually stops and you're like, wow. Then you have only your ears ringing and not anything else. I was actually thinking that maybe my imagination is doing some tricks to me because I actually had this kind of ringing stuff. I was like, is there some random background ambient noise in my house doing stuff? Oh, it's just my ears ringing after listening to this one. And as such, this is a really, really poor release. One of the most horrible releases I've gone through this year. And in overall, this probably goes to the bottom 2% releases ever. Really, really waste of my precious time. Luckily, there are no links, to this band. So if you really want to go for samples, you have to do your digging on your own. I don't have them links because obviously it seems that this band is not supporting that. And I think it's good for everybody. So with this information, do what you will, but don't go buying this one blindly. Too bad because the label is decent, but the album is not. See you and listen to some good shit.